Hi, this is Rico Blanco, and I'm your mix headliner for the month of October.
I know you really want it. You know I'm hard to find. This is so unexpected.
Huh. What has changed? I'm trying to think of the biggest change. I think the biggest change is I was in a band before, and so I had to work with the same people for every song. Now I don't have a band, so I have to always look for people every time I need help. It's not an advantage or a disadvantage, it's just different because I was also inspired by my bandmates then. Right now, I'm also inspired by the different people I get to work with. I would say that would be the biggest difference. I think this might be a bigger difference. Recording studios, the access when we were starting out, studios weren't that accessible. You really need funds to be able to book a studio, and not everyone had access. And today, I think almost everyone can record their music even from their bedrooms, even just using their phones. Before, you had to really book a studio, and it cost a bit, no? So now I have an idea, I can instantly record it. It took me many years for me to be able to set up a studio in my home, like a proper one. Also worked really hard for this. And then suddenly these days it's so much easier actually to have a kind of a studio at home. Technology has just made it so much easier to reach people. Before, you had to travel and physically be in every single town and city for people to be able to see you, to experience your performances. These days, it's, press of a button and you're live. So even before I was writing for work, I will always try to write differently each time, and I did the same for any other project. Parang there's so many ways to do things. I wanted to try different ways each time, different ways of drawing, different ways of dancing, different ways of writing songs, different instruments. That's been the style that I still try to keep up to now, and I still make sure that I'm enjoying the process. It's been that way when I was just discovering how to write music, and I feel like that's still how I write. I really just enjoy it. It's just like playing. Yeah, it's my hobby. It's like people like to play video games maybe, or sports. It's the same to me. So when you're doing the thing that you enjoy doing, that's pretty much how I do things. I don't think a lot has changed pagdating sa songwriting ko. There was a time when I wanted to use every chord available to mankind. You see it in my earlier work. That's why like 214 had a bunch of chords. Isang Gabi by Julie, which I released just recently, also had a lot of chords. So I don't know. Like, I think my songwriting didn't really change much. I like to keep some innocence all the time. I like to write like it's my first time writing all the time. Honestly, I don't really think about it. It's not intentional to have different styles and yet have this trademark sound. I like to think that I don't have a sound, but everyone tells me otherwise. Everyone tells me that's so you. So that's also what I tell artists who ask me how do they find their sound. I just go, you know what, I always try to do something different each time, and yet people say I have a sound that's distinctly me. So I don't think you should worry about that. Siguro having a distinct sound or trademark byproduct of you just putting out a lot of stuff. Because if you put out one thing, people would just see that one thing. And you put out 3 things, they will see what's common dun sa 3 things. If you put out 10 things, they'll see what's common dun sa 10. And kung ano man yun, maraming difference dun sa 10. But yung nagiging common, that's you. When things were better, I like to travel because I figure out what's just my environment and what's me. Because if you take yourself out of that environment, the things that you still like, the things that you still don't like, that's you. Sometimes if you stay in one place, you grow roots, and the grass creeps up on you, and the birds are on your branches, if you're a tree, and then you don't know if it's the bird part of me or the grass part of me. So hindi mo na alam. That's also why I move around artistically, and it's also not so premeditated. I'm a fan of just different kinds of music, different kinds of art. start. So the fan in me just wants to try it out. Like, if there's this kind of music that I appreciate so much, parang gusto ko ako rin, di ba? Gusto ko ako din. And that's been actually a criticism sa akin or even sa Rivermine when we were starting out. I remember one of the early record reviews said we were chop suey and we didn't have a distinct sound. You didn't know what to. That was like the parang bad review. And it was the first review of our album. Some expert critic. I just kept being chop suey long enough. After a few years, people go like, oh, that's a distinct sound that you have. Okay, what are you talking about? But okay. It's funny because my goals changed through the years, but I find that my goal when I was starting out is the same goal I have now. It's just for people to hear my latest song that I just did. That was my goal when I was starting out. I hope it gets played on radio so that people hear it. These days, I hope it gets playlisted on Spotify so that people hear it. I hope the YouTube algorithm favors it so that people get to hear it. It's still the same goal. I think somewhere through my career, there were points where I wanted, to have different kinds of recognition. I think when our band was starting out, Rivermine, we wanted to prove that we weren't just a one-hit wonder. That was my goal to follow up. And then to prove that we weren't just a one-album, one-hit wonder. Yeah, and at the same time, we had the lineup change. I had to play guitars. My goal was to fill in and people still enjoy the music. And then throughout different lineup changes, there would be different goals. I had to sing. We had to manage, a new lineup, getting recognition from this or that group of people. When I was younger, I would really silently let those things inspire me. I think up to this day, and it's like a game to me. It's not like a heavy thing that gets me sad. It just gets me excited and makes me want to write a song like this or that way to impress, some people. At the same time, making sure that I'm enjoying what I'm doing and that it's still what I really, really like. It's like a game. It's a fun game for me to have these little goals and yet make sure that it's whatever I do, it's stuff I really like and wouldn't mind attaching my name to forever. I work with my artists in Balcony very, very closely. And one time, one of my artists said na nakabahan siya. It was the day before the release ng single niya. So, kabahan? Kasi sigurado ang ganda ng kanta. Like, sure yan, whether hit siya ngayon or in time, because it's a great song, you'll just have to keep playing it and people will appreciate it. I always remind my artists na, a song like Awit ng Kabataan was never played on the radio because it was too noisy. But we just kept playing it anyway in our shows because we believed in it. And, it turned out to be what it is now. But at the same time, nung pagkasabi ko, sinabi ko, actually, okay din talaga kabahan or medyo maka-feel ng konting kaba before ka mag-release ng kanta. Because I realized that it still happens to me. Why does it happen to me? Because you care about your song. You've spent hours and hours and hours and hours writing it, days, weeks, months, perfecting it, recording it, laying down the vocals, changing the details, tweaking it, conceptualizing a video, working physically to shoot a video, all the challenges. It's natural to be anxious before you release your song because you worked hard on it and you're proud of it and you want it to reach as many people as possible. So it only shows that you care about what you're doing. If you're not excited or anxious, a little bit anxious about something you're about to release, huwag mo na gawin. Because you're probably not really into it, and that's a sign maybe your music will not resonate because wala yung puso mo doon. Kasi kung nandun yung puso mo sa music mo, you will be a little nervous and you want it to be, no matter whether you're a big artist, small artist, big is relative, you can say I'm big, but compared to Ariana Grande, I'm nothing, right? There will always be an artist bigger than you and there will always be an artist smaller than you. It doesn't matter. If you love your song that you worked hard on, you will always want it to reach as many people as possible. And that's why also when you release something na, even if it's not a hit during that period, if you believe in your song, keep playing it, keep performing it. Play it for the next 10 years. If you play it forever, good things will happen. Not a lot has changed, to be completely honest. I was gonna say I'm more chill now compared to before, but hindi rin eh. It's just, I don't think I've changed much. It's just the things I'm interacting with, the way I interact with the world. Just the connection points are different. I'm connecting with the band before, and now I'm connecting with artists that are in my label or that I manage. But ako, yung person mismo, parang I don't think I really changed much. My family still treats me the same way, and that's the most important thing. Maybe the biggest change now is I'm letting my imagination go beyond just music. I realize that there is an outlet for creativity outside just art, and that you can exercise your creativity in other fields as well. Business, relationships. I'm more conscious that creativity can be applied in those other things.